Welcome everyone to the second episode of How Builders Think, a podcast all about Lego Star Wars and different members of the community and their thoughts and feelings on it. Today's guest is you might say, a recent addition to the Lego Star Wars community, with him and his brother as a duo team on their YouTube channel. Please welcome Brick System Brothers.
Hey guys, hey Clone Plays, thanks for hosting us today. My name's Nathan Masters, and Josh and I have our channel. Josh isn't with us today, so I will be representing our YouTube channel.
Nice. And right off the bat, I just want to say you do have a really cool channel logo. I wish mine was a little bit more like yours.
Man, we gotta be unique. You have is that like 501st Trooper style helmet?
It is a Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet.
Yeah, okay. I'm not super familiar with everything Star Wars, but I have followed it over the years. Yeah, I gotta say, you do have some nice MOCs on your channel. It seems like you do focus on the Star Wars side of Lego a lot more.
Yeah, my channel is definitely more heavily focused on the Lego Star Wars aspect of Lego. Oh, it's always great and appreciative to hear people who are in the other aspects of Lego, like your channel and a few others, because yours is more, from what I've gathered, is more, I don't want to say general, but more, you go into a lot of the other themes as well besides just Star Wars. And so it's getting your perspective on the Lego Star Wars content is pretty appreciative as well.
Yeah, for sure, man.
And so I guess right here at the beginning, is there anything you want to share with the audience before we just dive into a bunch of different topics?
Well, just what I mentioned, not super familiar with like a lot of the backstory and the lore of Star Wars, so I'll do my best. I don't know a lot of the jargon, but yeah, I guess just bring up what you want and I'll answer what I can.
Sounds good. Yeah. How familiar are you with like the Lego Star Wars stuff? Like how did you first get introduced to like Lego stuff?
Okay, so for Lego in general, back when I was about 6, we had just moved to the state, and part of getting set up in our new house was, buying some new toys and stuff. So my first Lego toys came around 2003. So kind of from there, it was a slow start, and I didn't buy a lot at first, but over the years, just kind of gathering more and more. And when my brother was old enough, he was also really interested, probably had a lot of influence in that. But yeah, and then we just ended up building our cities together, and our room is basically one large Lego museum at this point.
I like how you called it a museum, because that's kind of what mine is turning into as well. At least it was until I recently started doing a big Megasort kind of series on my channel, where I'm taking down all my sets for their parts. That way I don't have to spend as much money in the future for parts, especially for the different mocks that I've been creating. Having a lot of parts on hand has helped me to be able to better prototype. So far I've only prototyped 2 things using all these parts, but it's going a lot smoother than before. And I now am able to know how much parts of a certain type I have. So when I do go to my secondhand shops that are nearby, or if I need to buy off Bricklink or whatever, I know how many I actually need instead of having to guess and then find out later, oh, I had like several of these still in my collection that I could have used.
Yeah, that can be really helpful, especially if you have a good sorting system in place. So, kind of curious, like, what do you have set up for that?
Good question, and I'll probably turn the tables and ask you that same question as well afterwards. But for I've organized my collection several times over the years. My collection story is pretty similar to you and your brother's. Mine just started a little bit later. I really started collecting in 2008. That's when I was introduced to Star Wars and Lego at the same time. So that's probably a big reason why I focus mainly on Lego Star Wars stuff. For my organizing in today's time, I recently finished phase 1, which my phase 1 was I had a bunch of my sets already disassembled in boxes, and so it was to disassemble the rest that I had that I was kind of displaying, but I knew I was going to take them down anyway, and put them down in all their pieces, and then sort those out into, like, I guess, major categories. So like all the plates went together, all the bricks went together, and then anything that didn't fall into like the more obvious categories, like bricks, plates, and tiles, went into another category I just called special, which was pretty much like all the Technic stuff went there, and then everything else like hinges and brackets and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that all went to one. Now that I finished that phase 1, I'm working in phase 2, which is getting more specific in the different categories. So right now I started with plates. So instead of just having all the plates in containers, now it's like all the 2x2 plates are together, all the
Right.
all
Yeah.
the 4x4 plates, and so forth. And I'm trying to work my way through all my phase 1 categories to get those done in phase 2, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing a phase 3 that's even more specific, but that's going to be a long time out from now.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you do your sorting? Because you've got a decently sized collection of parts as well from the different videos I watched for my
Yeah.
research.
From what I've put on the channel, I have a really nicely sorted segment of the collection that's been somewhat featured. I've done a couple videos. But then that table with my city on it, actually underneath there are a couple other bins, and that's not sorted as nicely, so I haven't haven't featured that as much. But yeah, similar to what you're saying with phases, where you kind of break it down. I am personally really a fan of sorting by part type instead of color. I think color can be helpful for a smaller collection, but once you get up past a couple thousand pieces, it's a lot more efficient if you have it sorted by part type. So the downside to that is you do need to make a bigger investment into actually having enough containers to do that. So I
Right.
think it pays off in the long run, especially if you're going to be building that collection and not just having a little bit of it sorted at a time. So yeah, part type sorting, and then try to keep the general brick types together. So like one area of the build table has the bricks, and those are all sorted by size, like 1x1s in a container, 1x2s in a box. And then, you plates. And as you start getting more complex, you have your plates with different attachments. So all of the hinges and stuff, you have to decide, am I going to put these together with other similar pieces or try to have a dedicated bin? And at a certain point, maybe you have enough to justify a dedicated bin. It really does evolve as you change your collection.
Yeah, and that's why I'm super appreciative to myself that I did the phase system instead of trying to do it all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Because previously I tried once to do it all at once the type way, and that fell apart really fast. I've also
Yeah.
done the whole do everything by color. The big problem for me when I had all my parts sorted by colors, like especially the red parts, I just couldn't find the specific type of part I wanted because they all blended together in the box.
Right.
So I'm glad, and definitely recommend to anyone who's watching who's currently thinking about sorting their collection either for the first time or for like the third or fourth or whatever time, definitely do it by parts rather than color. If you have
Yep.
enough like containers that you can then after doing parts do color, I would recommend that. But that's for collections that are well over like 75,000, I figure, or like more towards higher in the numbers,
Yeah. I don't
because
know.
yeah.
It's hard to put an exact number on it because different people, will use it differently, especially if
Yeah.
you're sourcing a lot of pieces from the pick-a-brick walls in a Lego store. You end up with just massive amounts of a single piece. And so sometimes it's a case-by-case basis where you just have sand green 1x2 bricks. Oh, that would be amazing. But, you like have a huge bin of those, and then the rest of your 1x2s are all mixed together or something like that.
Yeah, for instance, speaking of the pick-a-brick wall, several years ago, I went in to a Lego store nearby where I live, and for instance, so there's a lot of those modified 1x1 bricks that have different studs on the sides, either like one
Mm-hmm.
stud on the side or two sides. Well, I ended up with I can't remember, either like a whole small cup back when they were doing when there was cups, or like half a cup of the 1x1 brick that was modified with studs on all sides but one. So
Ooh.
I have a ton of those, but it's like I have so many of them. I don't know what to do with them. So those I feel will get a dedicated container, but a lot of the other ones that are in that general category of modified 1x1 bricks will probably all end up in the same container. So there'll be two. So definitely, yeah, the sorting and organizing of the collection definitely evolves over time, especially because I guess the hope and goal is over time your collection grows. It's kind of sad when you see people's collection decrease.
Hmm.
But for those that grow, it definitely has to evolve because you have to then go out and find more containers to put all this stuff in,
Right.
or get enough shelves to display everything.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So how is your Lego city? A part of my research, I must have missed that, but how big is your Lego city?
Um, at currently, it's about the size of a regular 4 foot by 8 foot piece of plywood, but it has some edges that have been modified to like get the railroad tracks out on a radius. So it's not like a perfect rectangle, but if you were to consolidate all of the rounded edges, it would probably be about that size, 32 square feet or so.
For in my experience, that's a relatively large city. That's bigger. That's a bigger city that can fit on my table currently that I do everything I do on. So,
Yeah,
congrats.
we're lucky to have our room downstairs is pretty large. We're down in the basement, so we got a little bit of a bigger bedroom, and because of that, we're able to use a lot of that for Lego space. That's pretty cool.
That is your Lego city all one type of theme, like all just like Lego City stuff, or do you have multiple other themes running throughout it as well?
Yeah, I would love to have all of the creator expert modulars. I think those are really well done. So I currently have 3 of those up in the city. The old 2008 town plan set was definitely something I'm glad I picked up, and that has the theater. So the theater is still there, and I kind of made it
Nice.
into a modular. It was a little bit narrower. I had to do a little modification, but for the most part, it's a lot of mocks, and then your road base plates. You can kind of customize it to do what you want, and then it does get a little bit tricky with the railroad tracks, where I wanted to have a road crossing the tracks at a curve. There's not a lot of great pieces to do that smoothly, so I ended up using some cardboard and making my own little train crossing there. So kind of a hodgepodge, a little bit of creator in there as well.
That the part where you're talking about the railroad crossing, a lot of the other Lego cities I've seen, they've had a lot of the other people I've seen do Lego cities have always had a struggle with the railroad
Hmm.
crossings because there's not, as far as I'm aware, I'm not. I really love Lego trains. I wish to one day own one. I just, since my main focus is Lego Star Wars, I haven't put too much emphasis on trying to buy the trains and the
Right.
tracks. But I've seen many people seem to struggle with the crossings just because I don't think, as far as I've seen, there's no like official part or parts
Hmm.
you can use to do it. So you always have to come up with your own. What has been the hardest or the most difficult mock building you've had to do for your city so far?
For the city specifically, I've had this train station that I've been trying to finish for years, and I always end up kind of falling off the projects. I work on it for a month or two, and then by that time I have a different idea for how I want it to go. So I think not necessarily difficult in terms of the technique, but just staying motivated to finish the one project, this train station.
I have experienced that myself as well, especially right now. I'm currently trying to find the time to do a Hellfire tank droid, which
Hmm.
is the battle droid in the second Star Wars movie that has the big hoop looking wheels.
Right, right.
And my biggest struggle with that is just kind of similar but kind of different. My problem right now is I have so many projects going on at once that I'd like to do.
Hmm.
I'm finding it hard to set aside some time to work on it because then every time I go to work on it, I'm like, "Oh, that's right. I need to go order some more parts, especially for the wheels. These wheels are taking up most of my time because of the way that I've designed them. They require a specific number elbow joint or whatever that part uh type is called, and
Hmm.
all
Like
I've
a little
pretty
Technic
much,
piece.
yeah, one of the Technic elbow parts, and I've
Yeah.
pretty much ran the couple of secondhand shops I go to dry of the specific one. I've bought all that I could find from them, so I now, if I want to work on it some more, at least the wheels, I gotta buy some more parts. But how do you go about coming up with some of the different styles of buildings or some of the different buildings in general for your Lego city?
For style, I guess I don't have a really specific style, and that's why I really appreciate the modular buildings. Is they're they all kind of fit into the same theme, but they also manage to be different. So definitely drawing inspiration from those. But yeah, next to those, some of my mocks end up looking kind of plain. And it has been a little while since I actually worked on those. I'd like to go back and maybe do some redesigns. But yeah, drawing inspiration from what Lego has officially provided is a good place to start.
I agree. Those modular buildings look really nice. And like you said, at least all the ones I can think of right now, they all look like they would be in the same town or city.
Yeah.
I think only a few would need to be modified being different colors, but yeah, they'd all fit in together, which is great for those because I know there's quite a few people out there who just buy those and then they turn those into their city. They probably don't have the time to sit down and make their own, but it's great to hear that you do have the time to sit down and make some custom buildings as well to go along with the official Lego set ones.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, some that you would maybe want to modify to all fit in the same city. I actually think it's cool that Lego has kind of gone off script, maybe you would say a little bit, to do something different. And, maybe getting a little bit of criticism for it. But in the end, ingenuity is what's keeping them at the top. So love to see it.
Yeah, definitely the ingenuity is keeping them on top. Plus, have so many they have so many connections with so many of the different licenses they have that people love and
Mm-hmm.
enjoy, so they're able to pull from that as well. And I am a huge fan of like a lot of the classic Lego stuff. So I might not do a ton with Lego City, but I have thought about it in the past. I was like, one I did have a thought one day was like, maybe I should switch from Lego Star Wars to building my own Lego City. That never happened, but I do own a few, especially I really enjoy the Lego City police sets, mainly like the I forget what it's called, but the truck transport kind of mobile
Oh,
command
yeah.
center police
I think
sets.
we're
Those are
about due
always
for
super
another one
cool.
of those.
Yeah, I
Maybe.
I think if I remember right, I owned the one that came out in like 2008, 2009, but there's been several more since then, and I just haven't had the resources to pick them up along
Yeah.
with Lego Star Wars stuff. But
Yeah, I think it's good that you have this focus for your collection on Star Wars. You don't necessarily need to make a total transition if you don't want to. You can kind of work on it a little bit at a time. I would, in fact, recommend doing that instead of trying to make a huge jump.
yeah, and that's something I definitely wish to do is maybe reach out and branch out a little bit more to the other themes as well. It's just currently I don't have the resources to do that, so
Hmm.
I'm glad I have stuck to mainly one theme so I can put all my time and effort and money into it at the moment. But one of these
Great.
days I do want to reach out to or branch out to those other themes. So kind of going along with I think that question I kind of asked a little bit ago and you kind of talked about it about how you get inspiration from official Lego sets. What do you do to like generate different ideas? This is more for like us Lego YouTubers. What do you do to generate different ideas for your videos?
For our videos, well, on our channel, I like to take a really broad approach to Lego, and I do appreciate everyone that does set reviews. I think it's good to get opinions from a wide variety of audiences, but sometimes you find a subject in Lego that you wish more people would talk about. And so that's kind of been one of the drivers of what I like to pursue when I'm making content is maybe stuff that's out there that you would have a question about, but maybe not a lot of people are talking about it. I'm trying to pursue those a little bit.
Yeah, going off of that, one of the series I'm super appreciative that you and your brother came up with, and I can't believe I didn't come up with it myself, is your hold up, what's that Lego part or whatever.
Yeah, huge
That
cap. Hold up. What's that awesome piece?
I'm such a huge fan of that, especially because one of those parts that you've recently did on that series is a part that I own that I had no idea what it was either. The
Really?
massive Lego Bionicle fan part.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you did a video on it because I've always tried to figure out I don't know where I got it, how I got it, and I've always trying to figure out how am I ever gonna use this thing that I
Hmm.
own, and I was super appreciative of that one video.
Yeah, that's been actually really fun. In terms of like doing well on our channel, it's not one of the top performers, but I actually really enjoy making those because in a way that forces me to go and learn about that specific piece so that I can make the video. and just kind of focus on, what makes this piece good enough to do a whole video about. Sometimes they end up being like 10, 12 minutes long. And I don't know, I don't know how I talk about it for that long, but sometimes there's enough out there, especially with resources like Bricklink, where you can go and see the history and all the different colors that it's been available in. And yeah, just kind of do a general review about this specific Lego piece and how you can use it in ways maybe that you weren't thinking of before.
Yeah, that's a shame that it's actually not one of your top series on your channel, because I super enjoy it. For those who watch this podcast series, please go check it out, because I appreciate it for multiple different reasons. One, because of, like you said, it's very informational and it helps me actually understand what this part is, and it also gives me different ideas of how I can actually use that part for different things. I'm very
Yeah.
excited. I wish I had some of those Life on Mars sets. I was just a little. I didn't have the money at the time when those were out to get that specific engine part, but that engine part
Mhm.
looks really nice. I wish Lego would make that part again.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you've enjoyed it. It's great.
Yeah, it was a great watch when I was doing my research for this podcast, and I hope to see more of that series from your channel, even if it doesn't do that well, I guess.
Now, there's a couple more pieces. I just gotta go do the research now.
Right. So, unless there's anything else you want to talk to, let's switch over to trivia time.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. So for trivia question number 1, in your very first episode of your channel, what colors were used to make Josh's name plaque?
All right, great question. The name plaques were something we did early on, and throw it back in every once in a while. But Josh's name plaque uses red, yellow, green, and blue, some of the original Lego colors.
Yes. And I thought that was pretty creative, because yes, it's really nice to see that, because it's definitely a good throwback to old school Lego. And I also I do like your plaque as well. I can't at the moment can't remember what colors they were, but it's a very nice complementary colors for your plaque as well.
Yeah, I like my colors. I chose them.
For trivia question number 2, in Josh's extended transport trailer video, what does he say the truck trailer can get stuck on?
So Josh's extended trailer is quite the sight if you've never seen it before, but it's low enough that it has trouble going over railroad tracks.
Yep. I thought that was kind of funny when I was watching that video for research. And that thing, I don't know, when I first saw the thumbnail for it, I'm like, oh, that's not that big. And then I watched the video, I was like, man, that thing is monstrous.
He just kind of kept adding plates until I think he ran out of the plate sizes that he wanted, and he's like, that's long enough.
I think that's what he said. And then I think the other part was too is he wanted it to not really get stuck on the railroad track, so he stopped at that specific size because it started to run
Yeah,
into that.
it
But
was just getting to be a problem, maybe.
you should tell him to make it longer. For like
Just for the fun of it.
for a version number 2, let's have like a 12-foot long transport trailer.
Extended 2.0.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to do that. That'd be pretty good.
Moving on to trivia question number 3. What is your most popular video to date on YouTube?
Yeah, another great question. Our most popular video is my original digital designer tutorial, and I think it just passed 45,000 views, which is about half of our I think it's just over half of our total channel views.
Yeah, something like that. I apparently have failed myself and forgot to write down the specific number, but yes, your LDD intro and tutorial video is the most popular video on your channel.
I'm really glad that that one is the one that took off. I feel like it is kind of a good introduction. If someone was going to find our channel, that is a video that I would like them to see early on, and hopefully go and see what else we have.
Yeah, I agree. I see it as a great introduction to your guys' channel, especially because then it goes along with, I can't remember what specifically in that video that you guys showed off, but then LDD in general is a great introduction to just the more general Lego community out there.
Mm-hmm.
So last question, trivia question number 4. How many Hold Up What's That Part episodes are there?
We currently have 12 episodes done for HughTap, so can't tell you when more will be on the way, but 12 is where we've been at for a little while now.
So that's all we got for trivia time. So are there any projects that you're going to be releasing soon on your channel that you're very excited that you would want more people to know about?
Project-wise, not a lot in the mock pipeline. I know Josh has his space station that he's been working on, so at some point he wants to finish that roof. It's kind of designed to fit in with the city space line that we got last year, the Mars space shuttle and the rockets and the rovers and all of that. There is an official Lego set for like an HQ, but Josh wasn't really happy with it. It didn't have enough garage room for him. So he has this massive, basically right now it's just a warehouse with kind of a control room. And then he's working on getting the pieces, finish that roof. So keep an eye out for that one. Other projects is maybe I'm trying to pull some information together to do kind of a price guide in terms of looking at buying Lego and, comparing buying it off the shelf new versus buying used, and kind of consolidating all of that into a presentation style video.
Nice. So where can the people who are watching this podcast go to either reach out to you or find you on the internet?
Well, our main location is our YouTube channel, Brick System Brothers. Pretty much all of our original stuff is primarily there. I also occasionally will put something on Facebook, but most of the time that's just about once a month. I choose one of our better videos from the channel and upload it there instead of just putting a link in. So check out YouTube first, and then just search Nathan Masters on Flickr. Most of it is Lego, but sometimes not related. But to see everything that Josh and I do together, you definitely want to go to the YouTube channel.
Nice. I'll have a link to the Brick System Brothers YouTube and that Flickr you just mentioned in the link in the description box below. Very last thing we'll do for this podcast is just show a clip of a project that you sent me. So what will the audience see in this clip before we close out?
So this clip is an older video from last year, and Josh and I each picked out one of our own mocks to talk about. So my mock is a TIE fighter, and then Josh has more of an original design with like a spacecraft. So yeah, we're just talking about our design process, and maybe the inspiration for mine was some of those original TIE fighter sets with the blue on there. And then I know Josh likes to talk about his build techniques a lot as well. So that clip is from that video. It's about 7 minutes, and yeah, you can find it on our channel. It's a little bit buried now, but it's on there.
Thank you for being on this podcast today, Nathan. It's been very fun to be here and talking with you, and I hope that your channel is able to grow and people are able to come and find you and your brother's channel and help support you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Clone Plays, and I wish all the best to you as you work on your Star Wars stuff as well.
Thank you. Everyone who's watching the podcast, go subscribe over to the Brick System Brothers so you can find more general Lego content over there, especially more of the Hugh Tap series and the other amazing series they've got going on over there. And if you want to see more of this podcast, How Builders Think, please subscribe to the Clone Plays channel, where there'll be a continual increase in the amount of episodes as soon as I can get them edited and published. So thank you all for watching, and we will see you all in the next podcast episode.
And the cab. So the way that I made this model is the wings just pop right off, and you can get down to the little cab. And there's really not that much to the cab. Lego has specifically made a piece for the TIE Fighter cockpit, which is really handy. Just kind of build that into everything. And then I just kind of built around that with this little cab. I did use some studs not on top techniques around back here with some slopes, and I like how that turned out as well. And then the wings are going to be connecting with this Technic thing here. So for the wings, it's just a panel of plates. I'm pretty sure it's only 2 plates thick all the way around. The border was actually the most interesting part of the design. I ended up using these little hinge plates and some claw arms to get this angle right. And if you look along the inside on these wings here, it still doesn't quite match up. But I'm calling it good enough. And then the attachment point is built up around this kind of inverted slope castle piece and some Technic pins right into there. So those are just going to go together like so. The wings are symmetric, so I don't have to worry about one side upside down at all.